I hear music. You'll hear music. I hear music. It's gone quiet now. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As we all know, next week you have no school, but we do have 2 full weeks left in this particular marking period. I'm hoping to take care of grades a lot sooner than that, but we'll figure that out. Oh, speaking of grades, this week, as I have promised, this week, there will be a major assessment on the computer. I am setting that up and I am assigning that before I leave the building here today. That major assessment will be due by Friday, and you should have plenty of time to get that thing done. Obviously, I have you today, and then tomorrow is a read day for you guys. I don't know. And then Thursday is a weird day, as we talked about. That's going to be PSAT, so that's going to be a free day as well. Not a free day, but a day to get this thing done. And then, of course, there's Friday. I want this major done before you leave for the week off, because nobody's going to be thinking about school during that week off. I'm going to be thinking about math during that week off. I told you guys what I'm doing on election night. I'm going to be live streaming on election night. It's going to be great. I'm going to be live streaming for like 4 or 5 hours. The what? You're hiding inside during election night? Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. No, because the thing is, like, and, you know, regardless of where anybody's politics kind of line up, I have spoken to Barnegat High School students who line up to the far left and who line up to the far right. And here's the funny thing. Both have the opinion that if the other party wins, the world's going to blow up. You know what I'm saying? I think either way, I know that this country is much stronger than one person. Is all I'm saying. You want to know a fun fact? I grew up through the 90s. When Bill Clinton got elected in 92, people thought the world was going to blow up. When W. Bush got elected in 2000, people thought the world was going to blow up. When Obama got elected in 08, people thought the world was going to blow up. When Trump was elected in 2016, people thought the world was going to blow up. It's basically when the person of the opposite party gets elected, people are like, oh, well, the country is going to fall apart. And guess what? The country has not fallen apart. Anyway, but it'll be fun. I'm going to be live streaming election night, so come join me. It'll be fun. On my personal channel, not my school channel. Now, as for today, I mentioned the fact that we do have this major assessment coming up, and I want to review. And I want to review in such a way where I have a quizzes set up for you to do. Now, this quizzes is not going to count against you. This is a review quizzes. Now, I would like to review as much as we can from that quizzes after you have taken it. But given the fact that we most likely will run out of time before I review everything, I am going to put together a review video of the questions from that quizzes so that you do have the opportunity to see the review questions and how they should be accomplished properly. So that when you get to this online major that you're going to take from me, that you have everything available to you. So here's what I'm going to need from you. I am going to suggest that you do end up having scrap paper for this review because you're going to want to jot out some stuff. But I am going to strongly suggest that you also have out those notebooks if you do need to review something for said question. But most importantly, and this is mandatory, I'm going to need those Chromebooks out and open because I'm going to give you a quiz or a code to log on for this review quizzes. Let's do it. Now, I know yours is charging. Perfect. There we go. That'll work. Let me go get this code lined up for the people online. Yes. I got an extra outlet back there. The desk is approximately 6 feet away. Yeah. No, the one right back there. It's got a couple of covers on it. All right, so just for the fun fact of questions for you, you guys who have done quizzes before, I am going to, because this thing is a review, I am going to put on redemption questions. Just so you know, I am going to put on redemption questions. So especially if you're going to be jotting down some scratch work for this kind of thing, it would be in your best interest to kind of have that ready just in case you're like, okay. But we are going to review this thing. You got your Chromebook? Come on. Here we go. But the code is right there for you guys to log on. And for those of you in the chat, you probably can't see it, so I'm going to have to write it. No worries there. The code. There we go. 539112 for those of you in the chat right now. 539112 for you to log on, because I know there's that ball of light right in the middle. Oh, I should specify. Remember I talked about the election. I know you had the reaction to the election. I should specify one very specific thing about the live stream that I'm going to do. I will not be discussing any politics whatsoever. My video will be purely about the numbers and the polls and the results. There will be no political discussion whatsoever. I just wanted to specify that because I can't stand it when people are just yelling back and forth at each other, you know? They allow you to select the avatar now? Oh no, that's just a theme. That's weird. They updated this website a lot. Did you get them?
You only get one file, right?
This is a review.
Okay.
This review is not for a grade. This is just getting you guys ready for the major assessment. Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't do that to you guys.
Okay.
Like in the middle of like, hey guys, guess what? This is gonna count. No, I always give you guys the heads up before it counts. You know. Okay. Now, obviously, when this thing turns on, when I start this thing, the code, I believe, should remain at the top of the screen. I just wrote that for people who couldn't see it in the chat. But a couple things to this. Again, there's roughly 23 questions, I believe. Each question obviously has the timer on it. Now, just in case people still have the misconception about quizzes, when the timer runs out, it doesn't automatically go on to the next question. So just please keep that in mind. Make your best attempt at these. You know, don't just kind of click through for the sake of clicking through and trying to get as high as a score as possible. No, instead, please take your time with what we're doing here. This entire thing is meant to be a review. It's meant to get you ready for a major assessment. And I want to make sure that everyone is on the same page with that. And like I said, when this thing is done, my intention is to review as many questions as we can. But I know we're going to run out of time, so I will be making a separate video to kind of review that information with you. So let's click this thing and let's get started. Boom. Ooh, it's Halloween theme. And again, like I said, I suggest that scrap piece of paper only because you might need to jot some things down for some of these problems. Yes, whatever you need to use, calculators, your notebooks. This is a review, so I want to make sure you guys are on top of things. Keep in mind, all of your questions are shuffled, so you're going through these questions in a different order than the people around you. You may not be as familiar with the thinness version of factoring compared to mine, it depends. But I don't, honestly, as long as you're able to show me the steps on the assessments, this is a review. As long as you're able to show me the steps as to what you did, I don't care what method you use, as long as I can see it. you, wherever you got it, you got it from the IT department. Do they have the mouse on the screen at the moment? Gotcha. In the meantime, I just want to have to do another. Unfortunately, I don't have an additional Chromebook. They started teaching that. So we'll try logging on at the same time as well, so you can get that. Yeah. The code is at the top of the screen. Now keep in mind, obviously, with the review, I am gonna hopefully go over as much as possible, but there is also gonna be the video going over it, so you're still getting a full review experience. Because unfortunately, like these Chromebooks are not as quality as some of the other Chromebooks that they gave out. Okay. These are the Chromebooks that like they work. It literally picked up really well. Yeah, the first four pros, and I sort of just click translate, click up two questions that you can. Oh, it really works. Okay, okay. That really sucks though. So definitely have your parents contact somebody in the main office and just explain to them and have them explain what the problem is and just ask for guidance on that. Like if you get like a little replacement or something like that. This the review doesn't have against it. something that you're taking. I thought it looked really cool. You know how to type in code? Okay. They have some classes here that do though, or that they learn how to do it. So. Just a heads up for you guys that are still working on this. Again, with this review, my plan was to go over some problems, but again, I knew I was going to run short of time. I am going to give you approximately the next 7 minutes. I'm going to wrap this review up with you on quizzes by 10:45, and then with the remaining 20 minutes, I would like to review as many problems as we can. So 7 more minutes, and then I'm going to click to end the quizzes, but do the best that you can with the time that you have now. to end it in a minute, but keep your Chromebooks open. Keep your Chromebooks open. On that screen at the end, if you, let me just see something real quick. Scroll down. Let me see something on that. Are you able to scroll down? Ah, silliness. Okay, fine. I thought I had set that thing up for you guys to be able to see the questions at the end. That is okay. Like I said, I am going to review said questions, so the Chromebooks then wouldn't necessarily be necessary after all is said and done, but I'm going to click this thing off because I, again, thought you had that review on there. That is okay. I'm going to review them over here with me. We'll get this thing done. Let's see. All right. Taking a guess? Hey. Let me click that. Click that. Boom. It looks like you ended up winning by 100 points, though. What are you shaking your head now for? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's what I need from you. Since I did not turn on the review on the Chromebooks, then we are done with the Chromebooks for now. So what I'm going to ask for you to do is you can close those Chromebooks. You don't need them for the time being. But what I ask you to do is definitely have those notebooks ready to go, out and open, because I would like to review some of these questions with you. I'd like to review as much as we can. Again, I will eventually make a video going over these questions so that you have a complete set of problems to review in regards to this major assessment that you're going to be taking this week. But I'm going to go through as many as I can right now. Yeah. Boom. I'm going to start with the red ones, and then we'll work our way back. So I'm looking at question number 2. Now, I'm going to write some stuff on my paper, and then I'm going to show it to you. They want you on number 2. They want, I'm just going to put a date on this for my notes. Today is the 26th, and this is a major review. There we go. They want you to find the vertex of y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 3. Let me bring this screen over here. Chapow. Here's what they want you to find. They want you to find the vertex of that particular equation. Now, last week, we put it into our notes that if we wanted to find the vertex, it was a simple matter of using this formula. This formula. You're going to need to know when and how to use this particular formula when you are calculating for the vertex. I'm going negative b over 2a. I'd go negative b over 2a, plugging in the appropriate numbers. Notice the c value doesn't matter what the c value is. The c value is just going to shift this thing up or down depending on what it is that they're asking. But be very careful. Be very careful with how you type this in. As I showed you last week, I showed you 2 different ways to type this in. Here is one way of typing it in. I'm going to zoom in on this. Here's one way of typing it in. Here's another way of typing it in. Oop. There we go. Here's another way of typing it in. Now, both ways are using parentheses. Both ways are using the exact numbers in question. Negative 4, 2, and negative 2. Negative 4, 2, and negative 2. But it gets 2 different answers. The correct one is the bottom one. The correct one is the bottom one. You have to evaluate the bottom of the fraction first. You have to evaluate the bottom of the fraction first in this way. Negative 4 over 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. This produces a 1. Be very careful because people tend to over-trust the calculator. If I were to take that 1 and plug it back in to the equation in question, if I were to take that 1 and plug it back into the equation in question, this would evaluate the y value of that ordered pair. Now, this one, again, you could easily just do this in the calculator. You could do this in your head. It spits out a 5. which means that the ordered pair of the vertex is 1, 5. Now I'm just going to flip back in a moment. I'm going to flip back in a moment, giving you the opportunity to write this down. But I'm going to flip back in a moment to the quizzes so that we can kind of see what answers people chose. Not by name, but like how many people chose which of those answers, just to kind of see how everybody lined up with that. Boom. It looks like 3 people chose the correct answer. It looks like 5 people chose the incorrect answer. We have to be very careful. Question right here. This one, the one that I'm circling my mouse around. The one that I'm circling my mouse around. The ordered pair is 0, 3. Do you know what that is on the graph? 0, 3 is a very important point on the graph. Ooh. Just to save a little bit of time, this ordered pair is your y-intercept. It is your y-intercept. Now, that's not what the question asked for. The question asked for the vertex, 1, 5. Let's go to another one of those red questions, number 7. Ooh, there we go. Get rid of that. There we go. So the question is asking for you to solve by the quad formula. Now, being this is a multiple choice question, I'm going to show you what I'm writing down in a moment. Being that this is a multiple choice question, you could solve it by the quad formula. You could solve this one by factoring as well. But factoring does not always work. Factoring does not always work. There's the problem right there. Now, with this problem, they want me to solve by the quad formula. I'm going to adhere to the directions and actually do what they wanted me to do. In order to do this problem correctly, in order to begin this problem with the quad formula, I am going to have to get one side equal to 0 by adding the 8 to both sides. Adding that 8 to both sides has to be done in order to use the quadratic formula correctly. From here, I'm going to go through my discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, just because I need to set up that quad formula correctly. 22 squared minus 4 times 15 times 8. If you didn't move the 8 over, if you kept the 8 negative, that would ruin this calculation. Be very careful. Let me see here. 22 squared minus 4 times 15 times 8 spits out a 4. That is the value of my discriminant. I'm going to continue with the quad formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant over 2 times a. This problem feels eerily familiar to a problem that we did in our notes, which I know that we did. We did this problem, I don't know how many weeks ago, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Negative 22 plus or minus 2 over 30. I have to evaluate both of these. I have to evaluate it once with the plus and once with the minus. Negative 22 plus 2. Negative 22 minus 2. But I have to simplify both of those down. This would give me negative 2/3. This would give me negative 4 over 5. I'm going to take a look at the quizzes in a moment. Give you an opportunity to write those down, zoom back in a little bit. Because my discriminant was a perfect square, a positive perfect square, that just means that this problem could have been factored. Could have been factored, and you would have gotten the same answers. But I'm following the directions for quad formula. Let me flip back real quick. Boom. Click. Click. There we go. Negative 2/3, negative 4/5. Again, 3 people chose that one. Got to be careful with your positives and your negatives. What is with this thing? What is with this thing? Image may have stopped working. That's okay. We'll fix it. Probably not. Hold on. I hate technology and all of its ways. It's going to take over the world. There we go. I heard the tone. There we go. Got him back. Haha. All right. Let's see what the next problem is. Looks like it's this one right here. Use the quadratic formula to find all the solutions. This is one where you are going to get decimals. Quad formula again. But if you look at the choices, they're going to give you decimals. There is one little typo here. There is one little typo on this thing that I just realized right now, and I should make a note for myself. To fix number 8. There we go. I'm going to fix number 8 later. But it does say cubed there for some reason, which is ridiculous. Did you see that before? Yeah. And you were like, what? Why isn't it flipping? Yeah. If it were to be cubed, I want to be very clear about this. We will be dealing with cubes in the next unit. But this whole thing is just purely about quadratics. So I apologize for freaking people out for seeing that. So this was the problem that we had, and we wanted to solve the quad formula. Now, this one's not going to be nice. This one will not be nice. B squared minus 4AC gives us 8 squared times 4 times 3 times -1. Ooh, interesting. Let's see what that gets you. 76. Gross. Not a perfect square. Let's just see what happens. Negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant over 2 times a. That's what I got. Negative b plus or minus the square root of 76 over, it's supposed to be 2 times 3. I just wrote in a 6. Now, the answers on quizzes were all decimals. They were all decimals. So we need to be very careful with how we're typing this. I'm putting into my calculator right now both calculations. I'm going to slide this up right here and zoom in right here. This is how the calculations should have been done. Again, be very careful with your calculators. Be very careful with how you're typing this thing in. You can type this whole thing in at once if you want, but if you take it piece by piece, you'll be in much better shape. I'm just going to write out the decimals. So I got 2 answers here. I'll zoom back out. 0.1196 and 2.78, or negative 2.786. When your answer is going to be a decimal like that, I mean, I would prefer to leave it like this. I would definitely prefer to leave it like this. But there are certain questions that say, hey, give me the decimal. As we learned last week when we were talking about that projectile motion, that object being thrown and trying to figure out when it would hit the ground. It was a tennis ball. When would that tennis ball reach me? When would that tennis ball reach its apex? Those were decimal answers, and we had to be very careful with how we did that. Let me look at the choices here. Chapone. You can see right there, obviously the first choice, those were the answers that we got. They rounded in a slightly weird way. That was weird. Yeah, it's probably a typo in the answers, too. I really got to fix number 8. But still, those were the approximate answers. They probably rounded a lot sooner. That's what ends up happening with these problems. They typically round around the square root, and then they round again at the end, which is dumb. Just round once. Just round once. All right, let's see what else we got. That was number 8. Number 16. Oh, here we go. What am I going to write down? A brick falls from the top of a building. The equation is h equals negative 16t squared minus 21t plus 200. It represents the height of the brick. How long will it take for the brick to reach the ground? Here we go. There's the equation. How long will it take for the brick to reach the ground. When the brick reaches the ground, the height of the brick would be 0. And we'd be left with the following equation. When the height of the brick reaches the ground, the height is 0. So here's our equation. Now, yes, we can begin it right now. We could factor if we wanted to try. Actually, I don't think it's factorable. Let me double check that. 21 squared minus 4 times A times C. No, definitely not factorable. Not factorable in the least. So let me go ahead with the quad formula. The quad formula would give you this 13,241 as your discriminant. Oh, that's disgusting. That is a disgusting discriminant. All right, let's see what happens. Negative b, notice how I'm writing that, plus or minus the square root of this disgusting discriminant divided by 2 times a. I got to simplify it a little bit, but I am going to get decimals here. 21 plus or minus that disgusting discriminant over negative 32. It becomes a positive 21. Now I'm ready to go to my calculator. Let me type it in both ways, and then I'll show you how I type that in. There we go. Look at that. Let me zoom in a little. I did it once with plus, I did it once with minus, and I got 2 answers. Negative 4.25, 2.94. Both are measured in seconds. The question was, how long will it take for the brick to reach the ground? Obviously, you're moving forward in time. You are moving forward in time. You're not moving backwards in time. You can see the answer right there. 2.9 was the approximate answer, 2.94, because they rounded. Oh, there it is. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So 2.94 would round down to 2.9 seconds. It would not be the negative answer because it's a word problem and you have to deal with the context of the situation. Be very careful. Be very careful. Let's see. We got time for one more. We look at 18, 20, and 23. There's 18, there's 20, and there's 23. Let me talk about number 23 very briefly. I won't write this one down, but I'll talk about 2 of them actually. It says select all the potential factors. Select all the potential factors. If you were to see here, this is an x-intercept at -3, and this is an x-intercept at +8. Now, because of that, you have an x-intercept at -3, which would produce the factor of x plus 3. Because when you get the factor, you were to set it equal to 0 and solve. And from that, you would do, well, -3, x equals -3. Same thing for this. It would produce the factor of x minus 8. Because once you got that factor, you would set it equal to 0, and then you would solve from there. This was a select all that apply problem. Thus, you can see the people who did get that one correct. And it looks like these people just selected x minus 3 because they saw -3. But again, there's a difference between the factor and the solution. There's a difference between the magic number and the answer. They're not the same thing. Depends on what the question is asking. Let me go back. There we go. Your nephew is standing at his deck. This is the last question. 4 feet off the ground. He tosses the toy up in the air. The equation is that, models, blah, 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 blah. How high is the toy after 1 second? The easiest way to think about this problem. You could draw an image if you wanted to, like, oh no, here's the thing, 4 feet. No, there we go, cool. How high is the toy after 1 second? There's the toy at 0 seconds. The toy at 0 seconds is only 4 feet off the ground. After 1 second, the toy is launched. And it is up here, 1 comma something. It is just a matter of taking that 1, plugging it into the equation. You plug 1 into that equation, you would get -2 plus 7, which is 5, plus 4, which is 9, which is why that was the answer. Like I said, I'm going to be making a video on all these problems. I'm going to post that video hopefully today at some point, along with the major that you guys will be taking, which will be due on Friday. If you have any questions, email me. I'm going to sign off. Haha.